Hi everyone, I'm Larry. I'm joined today by Benjamin Nyland.
Hello.
Hi Ben, thanks for taking the time to grab a coffee with me today. So in late 2018, we announced that we'd be releasing ShareGate Apricot. We wanted to take the time today to explain kind of like the process, what that meant for us.
Of course.
First, before we start, I just wanted to introduce you because not everybody knows you. So for those of you who don't know Benjamin, Benjamin has been working at ShareGate for the last 7 years, which most of the time was spent on the road. So we barely got the time to see you here at the office. But yeah, so over those 7 years, Ben acquired a knowledge on the field and learned a lot. So you transitioned to that role to a role that's more in terms of product vision of all three products.
Yep.
And we wanted to take the time today to give visibility to everyone in terms of what does that mean for us to release a new product, all the way from the initial idea, coming up with that idea, all the way to releasing that product. So what did that mean for ShareGate?
Well, thanks again for inviting me. It started a long time ago, even during ShareGate Desktop. Historically, we just called it ShareGate because that was the tool that we had.
Right.
And ShareGate Desktop focused on migrations, but we had started our entry into management inside of the app. It does a lot more, and we had a lot of feedback on our features. One of our very popular features inside of the application is the permissions matrix report. And it really helps you manage and see who has access to what. Came out many years ago, and the top request in our user voice, systematically top of the list, is new ways to export our existing reports to whatever format, Excel. So we dived into it. Why do you want to export? Because in product, you don't want to just listen to the feedback and directly implement it. Typically speaking, there's always a reason behind the ask. So they're asking for a feature of exporting, but by digging and digging and digging, we figured out that what they really wanted was to give that information to the owners of the site or the owners of the Office 365 groups so that they can know who has access to what, because they are the ones that are accountable for it, and they are the ones that are asking for it in some cases. So what we did is, before we started implementing directly the export feature, we already looked at some of the existing reports that we had, which were related to unused, figuring out what was no longer used inside of an environment. And the same reason came up, they wanted to export it. So we decided to build something new inside of ShareGate back then, now today Desktop. And that was called Insights.
Right? Yep.
Exactly. And that was a very popular and well-received set of features that crawled behind the scenes, figured out what was no longer being used. But we learned from it. What we did was we sent out emails to all the owners directly without much control over the email, when it was sent out, and who it would be going to. But the concept was to, instead of exporting the report and then having to manually go do all the tasks, we detect it,
Automate it,
and we automate it. Basically, we do a collaboration with an environment at scale, with group owners, with self-service. We just thought it was the best way to do it back then. We learned a lot from that release. We got a lot of feedback, but more importantly, we figured out that maybe there's enough value there to go directly to the web. Because as a desktop tool, we had a lot of issues with controlling a lot of those aspects from a desktop tool.
Limitations.
A lot of limitations, because you're on a desktop tool. How do you send an email? How do you connect to an API if they're in offline mode? So, and we had so much of a bigger vision for what we could do when we realized that in this new method of work in a productivity world where people create teams, people create sites, people create whatever they want, and in a way we want them to, but we had to find a way to automate governance in some way. What we thought systematically that came up was the ability to not delegate entire management to group owners, but we thought, what if we put group owners in the center of governance instead of sending them tasks or sending them or doing things yourself? So we decided, how about we put the group owners in the center and then allow IT to interact with them by setting up policies, by setting up things they want to happen to promote adoption of the environment by better use of the tools. So better security, better lifecycle management, better start of new groups, so training, and to make that part of the process of new group owners. So we completely switched the vision. We built the product. Of course, what does that imply? Tons of research, tons of feedback. We had interactive prototypes. We have a Teams community here where people that are fans, that are ambassadors, that love ShareGate as a brand who wanted to participate in helping us make the best product possible, and eventually led to ShareGate Apricot, which we're very proud of course. And it is the start. It is only the beginning. We started with lifecycle management, make the owners more accountable and owner of the policies that IT puts into place. And this right now is unused groups based on activity with an archive, so you can remove them from the tenant, improve searchability, improve productivity. You know, when you're looking for something in your environment, you can never find it. Terrible. So we remove it. We have an archive, but at least you improve productivity. You improve searchability, if that's even a word, but it improves that. And over time, we're going to add permission validation, membership suggestions, add or remove owners or members if they're not the right ones. We're going to go much further with naming conventions, the start of provisioning, the provisioning lifecycle.
From the very start.
From the very start to the very end. Apricot wants to help you raise adoption of the entire platform by promoting a good use of the tools, in short. So that was really the story in short. Obviously, we skipped a lot of steps, lots of brainstorms, lots of screaming, but a lot of trial and error to get to where we are today.
Right. So we kind of like touched on, like, you touched a little bit the where the idea came from and the reason behind the tool, and you also touched a little bit on the learnings that we had through releasing insights in ShareGate Desktop. Was there like any other things that you guys kind of didn't expect, or kind of like learnings that you had out of that in the whole kind of like really developing and really launching the product itself and building the product?
Yeah, building products is, it seems a lot easier than it actually is. I always have tons of great feedback that says, hey, well, how come it didn't take 3 weeks to build it? It's just detecting and sending an email. There's so much more, so many learnings. First, historically, we've been ShareGate Desktop has been a desktop tool, which is different technology, which is different knowledge. So to switch the company from a single product to multi-product, where now we have ShareGate Desktop, ShareGate Apricot, and ShareGate Overcast, and two of them being web-based, a SaaS, software as a service, but really more building everything directly in the cloud and no longer generating an installer that goes on a desktop, is completely different. And of course, the training of the devs, the learning of all of that, but also for anyone, how do you design for that? How do you look into user experiences? Basically, a good experience across the board from start to finish, onboarding, purchasing. It really is a whole different ballgame. Very interesting. Focus on what people are trying to get done and deliver that experience. So the biggest learning would be learning to build in the cloud, leveraging Azure, leveraging, but even basic stuff like how do you design when you are in the cloud? How do you provide these experiences is a big challenge as well. And I think that we didn't realize how much work goes into that from start to finish.
The more you dig deeper in things, you just discover new things that you added on the roadmap, and then it's just like, how do you prioritize that?
I think the single biggest challenge for any product company is knowing how to release the smallest version of your product. Even I think that we went more than we may have needed to.
More like a minimal viable project and actually just going above and beyond from the first release. But I think it's interesting because you say we developed ShareGate Desktop, initially was just ShareGate when we were a services company, so we only had one product, but now developing new products in a multi-product kind of feature or company is a lot different.
It's a lot different. Now we have to be looking at what is the experiences for 3 products through ads, through marketing, through content, through
purchasing,
and creating a common model. We want customers first and foremost to have the best experience possible, and then make it easy for us as well. But first it has to be good, a good experience for people, and that always starts there. And that is where the bigger challenge is, because it's always tempting to go through the path that is easier for us, but that's not always the best solution.
Good. So thanks a lot, Ben. That was really insightful. I hope this was insightful for you guys as well. If you guys have any question, what's the best place to reach out to you, Ben?
To be honest, you can reach out. The best way would probably be directly on Twitter, at @BNialin, because I'm always there. So if you want to ask a couple of questions, connect on LinkedIn as well, or just drop a comment in the comment box, and as soon as I know, I'll come and reply for sure.
Sounds good. So if you guys have any questions also, just go ahead, ask those down below, and don't forget to subscribe. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in.